So then we go back. I asked Katie to please take me back to Boone. I want to see what they wrote for the 19th. Those records were false. Said that I refused a they offered me an exam that they refused. They said they had a no recordings policy. Didn't document that the no recordings policy was bogus. That it really didn't prohibit me from recording them. It prohibited them from recording us as patients. Because it would be, like a HIPAA violation. So it's not all in my head. They're telling the truth to me, but not documenting it, not documenting the severe symptoms, and then falsifying the medical records. And meanwhile, I think I racked up about $30,000 in medical bills over a year and a half, and not an ounce of treatment, not an ounce, hardly an ounce of truth in any of those medical records. Now, if they're doing that to every single patient, which I get a distinct feeling that they're doing that to most of them, you add that to thousands and thousands of patients on a yearly basis that get billed from the federal funding or from the Obamacare plans with United or the Medicare or Medicaid. And you've got a multi-billion-dollar a year fraud scam going on between 3 tax-exempt non-for-profit entities. And why they're trying to kill me is because I've got the audio. Well, the audio, even if you die, the audio, no judge can admit audio unless the person who made the audio file is alive to authenticate that they made it. So what I'm asking United to do is conduct an investigation, provider relations investigations, because Boone Hospital Center is a provider. It's one of the ERs. They're not providing care. Women's Health Associates is associated with Family Health Center. They're not providing care. Because I wrote her up to the Missouri Board of Healing Arts for falsifying the medical records. I didn't do that willy-nilly. I waited a couple of months. I gave Gloria Krull and her administration all kinds of time to get me down there and have Beth Sweeney and Elizabeth Wilson act like freaking adults. Amend those records properly. Get proper care. Get me out of town. They were, by God, bound and determined to show me that they were going to do whatever they want to do because they're in bed with the Medicaid director. They've got the goods on the Medicaid director. Medicaid director ain't going to do nothing to them. Because they'll go, oh, really now? Well, this is now a gender discrimination issue because you good old boys, you and the governor are doing this too. That's why Ellen Erdley didn't want me coming up there and filing claims with the university, because they'll all roll on the fucking governor. There won't be enough handcuffs in the city, because when I get in front of somebody, my dynamic is as such, they just immediately start erupting the truth. The detective would have to have the National Guard down there, because I would certainly want Detective Heckmaster there to hear all the confessions. They don't have a Fifth Amendment right to not be interviewed. So me being a skilled investigator, not necessarily all taught by the attorneys, my father taught me. Because he did it to me. You know how little kids, say stuff. They get all wrapped up in their little game, whatever it is they're playing with their friends, and they're still in that fantasy land. And my dad would, if he was in a bad mood or whatever, he would grill me like a BUD/S instructor and show me how don't ever, do that other places because you'll get caught. And I was just a kid. So by the time I was 11, 12, 13, I was a real no bullshit kid. I wasn't much fun because I was trying to play special forces and all the other kids are trying to live in fantasy land. So I didn't enjoy these games. Now I've since learned he eventually got me where I was able to let everybody else play their games, not be a part of it, not be threatened by it. And I promise you, I've never seen a bunch of doctors play games like this since the last time I was here back in 1998. I was doing an investigation into 3 women who were trafficking their kids to, I guess they were drug traffickers and child traffickers, and it's all revolves around the drug trade, basically. And they put me on Neurontin for back pain, and I had some degenerative arthritis, and it caused suicidal tendencies, which United probably already knows that it probably paid a whole bunch of money to a whole bunch of drugs developed by Pfizer, and then they lied to the doctors, and the doctors prescribe to the patients start committing suicide, mass genocide, and then they go plead guilty in court to criminal charges, and they pay a fine, and they pay back the Medicaid and the Medicare, and so United already knows how these scams go. I never saw it this fierce and this impenetrable. I was never part of any kickbacks, fraud, scams. Nobody else tried to get over on me like this. Not in New York, not in Florida, not in Arizona, not in Washington State, not in Colorado. They treated the issue that needed to be treated, and it was all over and done with. Once I got married, I did seek psychiatric treatment, and they kept saying, this isn't a psychiatric issue, Miss Moore. You are autistic. They're far more progressive about autism and the savant memory because they see it a lot in kids. And my provider in Arizona, her only psychiatric thing was the fact that I was a trafficking survivor, and I just, been re-abused by my mother, and it brought some stuff up. But I made her do a pill count every week. She didn't want to prescribe any more than a certain number. I said, this pain is getting worse. I'm in a homeless shelter. If I can't function and do what I need to do, I won't even be able to sleep there. I've got to be able to take care of myself. I said, let's do this. You write for a week's supply of medication. Since these symptoms are so serious, you're absolutely justified in having me come in for a follow-up next week. And I'll bring in what medication I have left, and you just refill for what I've taken, not necessarily refill for another whole week's supply. If I don't use up all of it, then I had her bump it up to 4 tramadol a day, and the first week, she's okay, I'm going to do this. I come in the next week, I think it was like 28 pills or 30 pills is what she wrote for. Well, I still had 7 or 8 pills left. She said, you're not taking 4 a day. You're only taking 3 a day. Why did you have me write for 4 a day? I said, because some days I never know when I'm going to start bleeding so bad that I'm crippled from the pain. And I'm not, if you only have it written at 3 a day, I'm only going to take 3 a day. I'm very literal that way. I said, if you give me permission to take 4 a day, I'll take the 4th one because I never know what's going to cause me to start bleeding crazily again. And she said, okay. So she only refilled. She didn't write another refill for another 28 or 30 pills. She only wrote for like 21 because I still had 7 or 8 left. So I still had enough pills in case I needed to take 4 a day that week. And that's what I did with Beth. And now this community wants to do this red cup sort of hypersensitive crap. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you don't get to use the fact that there are people who do abuse their medication as an excuse not to treat someone. And they know I'm not in any act. No junkie's gonna have almost half their pills left after almost 2 weeks of only 20 pills. After they just exploded blood and clots and felt like they gave birth. And I took photographs because I don't seek that whatever it is people are feeling.